the queens in ancient Egypt during the Old and the Middle Kingdoms was not clear and prominent, for the monuments never showed personal characteristics of the roles, but it's possible to know their importance and the amount of wealth and power they enjoyed through their grand tombs. The first well-known queen in the first dynasty is Queen Nit-Hotep or Hotep-Nit, who was known from her great tomb in Nakada, discovered by Morgan in 1897. She takes her name after goddess Nit, who was a main goddess of Sais or Sao in El Gharbiya Governorate, and was one of the triad of Esna Temple in Upper Egypt, being one of the two wives of God Khnum, the ram god. His other wife was goddess Menhit, but Nit was the important wife. That's shown in celebrating a special feast in Esna Temple called the Festival of the Arrival of Nit to Sais, the center city of her cult. Queen Nit-Hotep, whose name means Goddess Nit is happy, was well connected to both kings of the first dynasty, King Narmer, the first king of the dynasty, and King Khuraha. She could be the wife of one and the daughter of another, and that the aim of her marriage was to unite between Upper and Lower Egypt. Her title was a wife or a mother. Her tomb in Nakada in Kena was made of limestone. Inside it, several items made of ivory were found, and her name was placed in a serech, or the facade of the palace, which is a royal privilege, which drove some to say that she was a ruling queen, but there isn't a proof of that. In general, a queen in the beginning of the ruling dynasties of ancient Egypt had her own grand tomb, and that was almost 5,000 years ago. Amongst the most prominent queens of the Old Kingdom, and at the very first dynasties of it, is Queen Merit Nit, who was entitled the Mother of the King. Most probably, she was a wife of King Waji or Jet, or daughter of King Jer, and some think that she was a guardian of her son Den, before he became king. Her name had appeared on a seal that was found in Abydos amongst a list of kings from Ahab to Den. She was also mentioned in Palermo stone in the Museum of Palermo in Italy, but she wasn't mentioned by the Egyptian historian Meriton. Her name came on a royal ring that was found in Saqqara in a tomb, and it had appeared in the royal serech, which was found in King Den's tomb. So she was named the Mother of the King. Her name stayed partially from the time of Den, and her tomb is one of the greatest tombs of the first dynasty. She has two tablets in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. We move to the fourth dynasty to find Queen Hetepheres, first daughter of King Huni and wife of King Senefru and mother of King Cheops. So she was a daughter of a king, wife of a king, and mother of a king. Her tomb was discovered by Reisner in 1925 when he was making excavations in front of the eastern side of the Great Pyramid. Her tomb was the only one found intact amongst the tombs of the Old Kingdom. The importance of that queen is shown in her wonderful funerary furniture that were found in her tomb and were moved to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Many wooden boxes that contained jewelry and makeup tools were found, and a raft for her moving around, and her bed, in addition to the alabaster coffin that was found empty, in spite of the canopic box where her guts were found. Explanation is that she was first buried beside her husband in Dahshur, and her tomb was looted, and her mummy was destroyed, and when that was known, she was moved to her new tomb. By the end of the Fourth Dynasty, a new prominent female figure has appeared. She is Queen Khent Ghaus. Her family tree isn't clear, but it's believed that she was the daughter of Menkaure Ra or Mykerinus, or Prince Hordedef, son of King Cheops. It's possible that she's a wife of Shepseskaf or Userkaf, and a mother of two kings from the 5th dynasty, and they are Sahura and Nefer-Erka-Ra. Her importance is represented in her tomb that has an unusual design for the queens at that time, and it looks like a coffin, for it resembles the mastaba of the pharaoh Shepseskaf and lies on the north side of the causeway leading to the pyramid of King Menkaure Ra. She also has a funerary temple on the southeastern side. She was nicknamed the mother of the two kings of Upper and Lower Egypt, the daughter of the god. Some has matched her with the character of Lady Redjet, who was mentioned in Westcar Papyrus in Berlin Museum. The 6th dynasty shows us the first guardian queen surely. She is Queen Ankhmeri Ra II, wife of King Pepi I and daughter of Huy, who was one of the great Nom rulers in Abydos. It seems that King Pepi I married her after the death of her sister and his first wife, Ankhmeri Ra I, for he wanted the continuity of the good relation with her family. Queen Mary Ra II gave birth to the successor of the throne, who became later King Pepi II, and she became his guardian after the death of her husband. There is a statue in Brooklyn Museum showing the queen sitting her son on her laps, with him represented as a grown-up man, which is a unique representation that was not known till Amarna time. By the end of the long troubled time of King Pepi II, there was no suitable heir to the throne. Then the first confirmed ruling queen in the history of Egypt appeared. She was Queen Nit-Ekret, the last ruling royal person in the Old Kingdom. She was mentioned in Turin Papyrus and in the list of Abydos, which is a list of kings and queens who ruled Egypt, lying in the grandfather's hall in the temple of Seti I. The Egyptian historian Maniton mentions that she was the most noble and beautiful woman of her time. In spite of mentioning her name as a ruling queen, she didn't leave any monument. She had finished the pyramid of Mykerinus. The Middle Kingdom started with the prominent figures of the wives of King Mentuhotep Nebhabit Ra from the 11th dynasty, and they were known by their distinctive tombs in a Bir al-Bahari area. We find the queen sitting down to get their hair done and put makeup and perfumes and bring close to their noses the lily flower and drink warm milk that came from a cow. Among the most famous queens of the Middle Kingdom is Queen Neferu or Sobek Neferu Ra, who ruled as a king by the end of the 12th dynasty and took the 5 titles of the king when there was no male heir to the throne. She ruled 3 years and 4 months and 20 days, but her tomb was not found till now. There was an inscription at the southern borders of Egypt in Kerna that says, "The length of the flood was 1083 in the 3rd year of her reign." She is the daughter of King Amun-Ra III and sister of King Amun-Ra IV. There were headless statues found of her in El Fayoum and the ring of her name kept in the British Museum. Definitely, she existed in the king's list of the New Kingdom. about the queens of the Old and Middle Kingdoms. The main title of the queen, especially in the New Kingdom era, was Hemet Nisu, or Hemet Nisu Weret, or the king's wife, or the great wife of the king. Here, we question the difference between the status of the one who carries the title of Hemet Nisu and the one who bears the title of Hemet Nisu Weret. It's believed that the word Weret proves that its bearer is a primary wife and the one who doesn't have it is a secondary wife. But that's not confirmed in the practical reality, for we find the two titles appear together for one queen in the same time. And the best example of that is Queen Ahmose Nefertari. We also find the queen called sometimes the wife of the king, and some other time called the Great One. The best example of that is Queen Ahmose. Thus it doesn't mean primary or legitimate, but perhaps points to the tendency of the ancient Egyptians not to forget about the hereditary titles, even if they were identical. In the beginning, we noted the coming out of those queens was a result of the political settling and the social and the economical one which was achieved in Egypt during the New Kingdom, and allowed the appearance of these feminine characters. For Egypt enjoyed a great social and economical and political settling after it was freed from the Hyksos on the hands of Amasis I. So with the diversion of Egypt into an empire, the queen found her chance to appear on the Egyptian stage. It's well known that there was no Egyptian word to mean a queen like today, for the whole royal family revolved within the orbit of the king and were expressed according to their relation with him. So we find the title of Mut Nisu, or the mother of the king, or the mother queen, and Hemet Nisu is the wife of the king, and Senet Nisu is the king's sister, and Sat Nisu the king's daughter. The title of Hemet Nisu did not appear except in the 4th dynasty, but the expression of the wife of the king was in the title of Semit Nebui. It isn't known what was the standard with which the king chose his wives, for there wasn't a special scale for that. It's known that the king is a sacred person, unlike the ordinary human beings. Thus he had the right to marry more than one wife, which wasn't a common thing among the people, perhaps to guarantee the one who will inherit his throne. There was a title of Eriet Pat, which many of the ladies who were not of a royal origin carried, for they were daughters of the rulers of nomes and the high officials. As for the title of the king's daughter, it's one of the titles of some of the queens, and was given to some princesses of the royal family. Upon studying the marriages of the Egyptian kings since the beginning of the Old Kingdom era, we don't find an imperative reason of marrying the sister for legitimacy, but to the contrary, there were unions and connections of marriages between the kings of the Old Kingdom and the high officials and nomes rulers, and the best example of that are the wives of King Pepi I and the mothers of Meren Ra and Pepi II. This kind of marriage could be political marriage to guarantee the loyalty of these governors and to ensure the stability of the king's rule of the country. There was a belief concerning the siblings' marriages of the kings of ancient Egypt, built on the existence of the title of some queens called the king's sister or daughter. The main reason behind that belief is a connecting between the mythology of Isis and Osiris and the legitimacy of the king. For some believe that the king must come as a result between the union of two siblings, just like Horus came as a result of the marriage between Isis and Osiris, who were brother and sister. His father was considered the deceased Osiris, and his mother, the queen, was Isis, who took care of him and raised him until he became the king of Egypt, and then he is Horus of the earth. But that theory proved to be wrong, for throughout the entire ancient Egyptian era, it's found that the royalship was a hereditary job that transferred to the son by his father, just like most of the worldly and religiously jobs of ancient Egypt. That the main or the basic element of the legitimacy of the king is his father and not his mother. But Horus has claimed his right on the throne of Egypt through his father and not his mother. He has never pointed out that his right in the throne came through her, but his mother tried to prove his right in the throne of his father. It's worth mentioning that, in fact, Horus or Hor had no sister to marry. It was also claimed that the Egyptian queen is a queen by birth, and the king is a king by the right of marriage, but that is not true. Actually, it's the opposite way. The king has the right to choose any Egyptian or even a foreigner girl to marry, and as soon as he marries her, she becomes a legal queen and gets all the titles of the queen, except the titles of sister of the king and daughter of the king. She was presented on the monuments just like the Blue Blood Queen and was highly respected by the nobles and the locals.